I just don't want to know. Yeah, as long as I'm fine and I'm living, I don't really care to know when or how it stopped because I feel like I've been through enough trauma with the hospitals, and I've
Mm-hmm.
had 6 surgeries in my life overall. It's because of my mechanical heart valves. I'm on a medication for life called warfarin, which is a blood thinner medication.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't really thin the blood, but it makes it flow better through the mechanical heart valves. So because of that medication, I bleed easier, I bruise easier. So, I have to be careful. Like a lot of foods I'm restricted from, a lot of like drinks I'm restricted from. Not restricted, but like more careful. It's my heart, so it kind of sounds like not a regular heart. It sounds kind of like a clock, how like the clock like tick tick tick, like when you can hear, that's
Mm-hmm.
what it kind of sounds like. And it's
Really?
very loud, so especially like you can't really hear it like obviously if I'm just like sitting next to someone, but
Mm-hmm.
if you take a stethoscope and listen to it, it sounds very different. And it was like very risky to just like go in and remove it, like because especially because of the blood thinners I could like bleed out. So they had to take precautions, take me off blood thinners for a while, monitor me in the hospital, and then go in and then, really carefully remove.
Do you feel mad at yourself since you're the one that caused it?
Um, I was a little mad at myself, but I feel like it's what made me like stronger and like take better care of myself. So I feel like that's something that had to happen, and I was lucky enough to like survive it. The doctors were like, we don't know what's gonna happen, like, because they were still like testing things, they were making sure I'm okay. And when the doctor says like we don't know what's gonna happen, then you're like, oh my god, I didn't sleep my like the first week almost of being in the hospital because that's what I was afraid of. I thought if I like closed my eyes and went to sleep, like I wouldn't wake up. But then and they pretty much said that my now instead of a clot, there was a leak in one of my valves. So like a little hole, and the blood was basically flowing backwards. But as soon as I went through that machine with that medicine that gave me, the last thing I remember is like a kick, like my on my lower back where my kidneys are, and I
Uh-huh.
remember knocking out. So I'm already like a fairly small person. On top of
Yeah.
that, I went to like 77 pounds.
Oh my god.
So
Hello, welcome to my podcast, to Mics One JoeySooch. I am Joe Sooch, and I'll be giving a mic to Tamar. We're gonna have a heart-to-heart where Tamar will talk about her amazing story. We got pacemakers, open heart surgery, valves being replaced, long hospital stays, near-death experiences, organ failures, all of it. It's a great pleasure to have you today.
thank you so much.
Yeah. So spoiler alert, guys. Tamar lives. If you haven't noticed. So let's start off with your condition called Shine complex. This condition affects the left side of the heart, causing the valves to be narrow and not to pump efficiently. Required Tamar to get open heart surgery at 16 months. She had her mitral and aortic valves replaced with mechanical valves. Also has a pacemaker. Also a Bluetooth speaker, cause you might as well, right? You can play Pump It Louder by the Black Eyed Peas to help with the blood flow. So, so with this open heart surgery, which is really badass, it's scary but so badass. Is your condition fixed since the problem has been solved, or is it more complicated than that?
It's never, I mean, it's fixed, but it's not curable. So I have two mechanical heart valves, like you said, the mitral and the aortic. I have a pacemaker here, which I'm partially dependent on, meaning that my heart does pump on its own for the most part. But if in case like there's instances where it stops or where it can't pump itself, the pacemaker takes over and pumps for it. So it's
So,
kind of there as like a safety more, but also to help me survive.
so like, do you know when your heart's not working?
No, I don't feel it. There are types that it's a different kind of pacemaker that shocks you when that happens, but I didn't want that. So I chose the
Sounds
non-shock.
terrible.
It sounds terrible. I don't see a purpose in it. It does the same thing, except one of them shocks you, and like oh my God, like my heart wasn't working. Now what it is, because that thing took over. But I chose not to know, because who cares? As long as it's
So like, is there a way for you to know? Because I know like if you have a defibrillator, yeah,
I can't even say it, defibrillator.
yeah. I had another interview where they have one installed, and I did reference it to as a D word, so we'll just do the D word for the rest of it.
Okay.
Yeah, so she said that like she can scan it and then she can actually see, where it actually like where her heart actually stopped. So like,
Uh-huh.
it is similar to you. Like, do you know? Could you know when your heart actually stopped?
No, not unless I go to my cardiologist and like he sees, oh, like we had a little like episode there, but like your pacemaker picked it up and you're okay. So only at times like that when I go to the doctor. Otherwise, no.
You're not curious at all. If you just don't want to know.
I just don't want to know. Yeah, as long as I'm fine and I'm living, I don't really care to know when or how it stopped because I feel like I've been through enough trauma with the hospitals, and I've
Hmm.
had 6 surgeries in my life overall. My first one was 16 months old, and then I was like around 8.
I'm gonna stop you there because we're gonna go on to our next segment.
Sure.
So then you go to your childhood. And you say you had a happy childhood, and your parents let you be kids. You say you had complexity growing up. What complexity did you have, and what concerns from your parents?
I had an overall normal, I would say, childhood like everyone else. My parents were
Yeah,
a
you
little
went to Disneyland.
I went to Disneyland. I rode a bike. I went to dance classes. I swam. Like anything any normal child would do, but more caution. Like, it was always like, even with my teachers, because my teachers had to know at school. So it was always like, oh my God, are you okay? Oh my God, don't do this. Don't run too fast. Don't like climb the monkey bars. You're going to fall. Like, very like protection. So
What I'm not. I don't really understand. So what is the warning of that you can fall or you can like do a lot of
it's
movement or
because
like what?
It's because of my mechanical heart valves. I'm on a medication for life called warfarin, which is a blood thinner medication.
Hmm.
So it doesn't really thin the blood, but it makes it flow better through the mechanical heart valves, since like it's not a normal like tissue, it's mechanical. So because of that medication, I bleed easier, I bruise easier. So, I have to be careful. Like a lot of foods I'm restricted from, a lot of like drinks I'm restricted from. Not restricted, but like more careful. For example, like greens, like I have to modify my greens because they make the blood thicker, stuff like that. So if I were to fall or like, hit my head, I were more likely to like bleed. That was the danger of it.
So you're saying that you didn't have to eat your vegetables growing up?
Not the green ones. I had to eat like my like other colors, like the carrot and the corn and those types of vegetables.
That's, I guess you got a pretty good childhood then.
Right?
Yeah, so it just seems so you're on blood thinner. It sounds dumb, but I feel like blood thinner makes you like even more, I guess, amazing in terms of like you can do so much more because your body is like an overdrive kind of thing because it can do all these like your body can heal itself faster, then its blood can flow faster, stuff like that.
Yeah. Actually, I I think you're kind of right because with a lot of
Oh,
things,
really? Oh, okay.
like a little bit, like a little modified. I think I've like because of all my surgeries and all my medications that I've taken, like in the hospital too, they push so many stuff like whatever antibiotics and that kind of stuff. I think my body has gotten like kind of resilient. So now that something happens, like a minor like cold or when I fall or something, I feel like I heal faster just because I've been through so much that my
Huh.
body got used to like healing. Does that make sense?
No, it made total sense. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Right.
I feel like more people are gonna take blood thinners when they get sick now.
Exactly.
Like I did never really heard of anyone go on a blood thinner to like if they get sick, they go on antibiotics. But I never really heard of blood thinners, so I wonder if you're onto something.
I know, right? I might be. Might be
I
the
mean,
next cure.
You are a nurse, so like you could like
Right.
I guess test it out. I guess.
I can.
I mean,
Maybe I'll
not
find a cure.
legally, but you could.
Exactly.
I mean, that is. I mean, it makes sense when you put all the pieces together that more blood flow,
Right.
better healing, because that's like when you hurt yourself, you put a heating pad, all the blood goes there, so that makes sense. More
Yeah.
blood would. If you put a heating pad, that's like double the healing power.
Uh huh. Exactly.
Uh,
So,
yeah, so like you're saying though, your concern was really more of not getting hurt, not getting cut. So were there any like stamina issues, or like is your heart
um,
just normal?
it's my heart. So it kind of sounds like not a regular heart. It sounds kind of like a clock. You know how like the clock, like tick, 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 like when you can hear. That's
Mm-hmm.
what it kind of sounds like, and it's
Really?
very loud. So especially like you can't really hear it. Like obviously, if I'm just like sitting next to someone, but
Mm-hmm.
if you take a stethoscope and listen to it, it sounds very different. I do get a little tired easier than like people without mechanical heart valves, but it's nothing like to the extreme. Like, I still exercise, I still walk around, but it's more of like I get tired easier. I have to like sit down for a second, relax, and then I can keep going.
How come you get tired more easily? Like I just feel like the mechanical valves it makes your body, I guess,
Um,
just
it's not
normal.
it's not human valve, so it just like it beats harder and it's like more pressure, so like
Oh.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's why like I have to like slow down and like or catch my breath. But I mean, since the surgery went fine, I'm not out of breath anymore. Like, I feel healthy. In 2020, which was like the biggest surgery I had, is when I went into heart failure and kidney
We're
failure.
gonna get there in a little bit. I'm sorry. I know
It's
this is a
okay.
big, yeah, it's a big one. I know. I'm just going kind of where your life is, so we can kind of
Yeah,
like build up to it.
go
So
for it.
now, yeah, so now we're gonna fast forward to 2014. Well, go
Oh,
back in time, and you got a blood clot. I interviewed
right.
another woman, and I listed about 30 procedures she had gone through, and she said she would never do a blood clot again. So this shit is no joke. It says you had a blood clot in one of your valves, and you were in a hospital for 4 weeks. I know I sound like an idiot, but like, isn't it easy to clear the clot when you know where it is?
No, because the place that I was in like in between my mechanical heart valve and my real human valve because we have four valves and only two of mine are mechanical. So it was kind of stuck in between and it was like very risky to just like, go in and remove it like cuz especially cuz of the blood thinners, I could like bleed out. So they had to take precautions, take me off blood thinners for a while, monitor me in the hospital, and then go in and then, really carefully remove one of the valves, replace it, and then restart me on the medication. So that's one of the biggest things every time I have a surgery is my medication I'm on because it's a very dangerous and risky thing to take because you
So
can
are
easily bleed out.
so are you just saying your blood clot was a random occurrence that happened?
I wasn't taking my blood thinners well. I was like going through a lot of other stuff at the time, and I just kept forgetting to take my medication. So it was kind of like my fault in the end that I wasn't
Oh
keeping up
no.
with it. And so that's basically what happens when I don't take them as I should. Blood doesn't flow, and it forms into a clot,
Hmm.
and that's what happens. So that's exactly what it was.
Do you feel mad at yourself since you're the one that caused it?
Um, I was a little mad at myself, but I feel like it's what made me like stronger and like take better care of myself. So I feel like that's something that had to happen, and I was lucky enough to like survive it.
So you get the blood clot, but does that have to mean that you have to get a new valve too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they replaced me with a new valve.
It wasn't in the valve, so how come you had to replace the valve?
They had to replace it because just it caused it not to like pump anymore, since that was my main issue to begin with. So it was like kind of stuck in between, and if I didn't replace the valve, then it could have just formed again. So kind of like mess up my whole like system. So they replaced one of them.
how do you get rid of a blood clot then?
You get rid of a blood clot by, so there's another medication called heparin, which is stronger and is given through IV. You don't take it. And basically, they took me off the one I take, gave me that in the hospital to dissolve the clot, and monitored me, took me off, and then did my surgery.
You
So
know
basically,
tomorrow. Yeah, you know tomorrow's a nurse when she knows all these medicines and can just say it nonchalantly. It,
yep.
most people will be like, "Oh, I took something for this and something for that." Like you just say it like you say it every single day, and you probably do.
I do, yeah.
So you
You
during the 4 week, you say it was extremely traumatic. Death felt like it was around every corner, leading to depression and overall loss of hope. Everything you were feeling is completely valid. Were you losing hope because you thought your body wasn't gonna pull through?
Yeah, I was, because I felt like even like the doctors were like, we don't know what's gonna happen, like, because they were still like testing things, they were making sure I'm okay, and when the doctor says like we don't know what's gonna happen, then you're like, oh my god, I was lucky enough to be okay, but it was like very traumatizing, and it kind of like stayed with me, and I think it kind of still is with me, but it's also what inspired me to be where I am now. So I don't really regret anything.
I mean, no one deserves or should be in a death. I get a death-defying experience, especially from day to day. So it seems like they just give you this medicine, and they just hope that the medicine works. That you stay alive enough for the medicine to keep working. I'm guessing the medicine. Like, how long were you in the hospital where it was you were unstable and then you stayed to be stable? So were you unstable for the 4 weeks? And
I was unstable for maybe 3 weeks because they had to like monitor me with the meds and all that. And then the fourth week, I had the surgery. And then after surgery, it's pretty much recovery was kind of quicker than like the pre-operation process. So after the surgery, I was pretty much there for one more week just so they can make sure I was good. So I was unstable for 3 of the 4 weeks.
so you're saying that they got rid of the blood clot, or I guess you don't fully get rid of it right away. Kind of like a slow process.
It kind of dissolves like slowly, but as long as it's like dissolving, then like, not
How
becoming bigger.
Yeah, so how do you find a blood clot? Like, is it like an MRI machine or what?
You can do x-ray, there's like something like a scan with like, I don't know if you know how they do sonography, if like a like
Hmm.
woman is pregnant with the
Yeah.
gel. So same way, like they get gel and they like rub it over your arm or wherever they think it is, and they can see it on the screen that like there's a blood clot.
So were they able to do that with your heart?
Yeah, that's what they did. So it's called a echocardiogram,
Mm-hmm.
and pretty much the same thing. They put like the stickers on you to like monitor your heart. They get the gel and they put it over your heart, and they can see it on the screen like what it looks like and where the clot is.
So do you look at it too?
I look at it, yeah, because I can like look back and see like on the screen. So it looks pretty cool. Just the
Uh,
diagram of the heart.
Honestly, they don't like they'll show like baby pictures and stuff like the in the room, and they'll be like,
Hmm.
"Oh, there's a baby," and I'm like, I don't know what I'm looking at. Just like
That's pretty much what the heart looks like. Like you can't really tell what it is, but it's a heart.
I mean, I don't like the doctor would be like, "Oh, here's this," and I'm like, "What?" Like I don't,
Yeah.
and they even pointed to me, and I'm just like, "What?" Like
Yeah. It's the
I don't know,
same.
if, like I'm colorblind or I just I don't know. I'm not colorblind, but I don't know. I don't know what they see. I still don't
Right. Yeah,
like,
same
and then,
same thing.
or does it be like, "Oh, is it a boy or a girl?" I'm like, how?
Yeah, it's
So
funny.
like, but so you've been talking about getting these new valves every couple of times. You said 6 times. So how do you know you have to get a new valve?
Well, it just as long as the technology lasts, because now medical technology is a lot more advanced, so these valves last longer. Like when I first got it in 19, I was born in 1990, I got it in 91. And at that time, I mean, it was still fairly new. So it lasted me only, I think, 7, 8 years. So my first replacement was 8 years because the doctor was like, he can see it and it's wearing out. Time for replacement. And then it lasted 10 years, and then it lasted 12 years. And now we're at the point that it can last up to 30 years.
Wow, that's super long.
Yeah, so now I got it in 2020, these new ones, and I'm 31. So hopefully my next one, you know, maybe when I'm 60. Who knows what'll be at that time.
Wow, that's crazy. That's awesome though for you.
I know,
So,
it's amazing.
but wouldn't you have to get it replaced more often when you're younger, just because you're growing?
Exactly, yeah. That's also another thing. Like, cuz your body's growing. So after I turned, I think 18, 19, it was like kind of both together. It was because I wasn't going to grow any much after that. And also because of the technology. So both of it combined, it became less and less.
So, like, how long like did the surgery last you? Like, how much like planning it is? So, can you just go? I'm gonna just get a open heart surgery next Monday and do it, or is there like a process to it?
It's a process to it because, again, same thing, medications. They were going to have you be off your meds for about a week and take like a different kind of blood thinner that doesn't affect the surgery, and prep you. You have to get like some other tests done, like make sure like everything else in your body's running well, kidneys, lungs, whatever. And then they'll be like, okay, you're safe for open heart surgery. So I would say at least like a week before prep. Obviously, unless it's like a super emergency, someone had a heart attack, they're gonna take you right in.
So then, how long is like the recovery then?
Recovery is about 6 months.
Whoa, that's a long time.
Yeah, full recovery 6 months. Yeah.
Wait, so what is quote unquote what is the full recovery then? Did normal activities?
Um. Well, pretty much. Like obviously, when you wake up from surgery, like you're on pain meds, so you don't really feel the pain of where like the incision is. But after that wears off, there's some slight discomfort, whatever, and that actually goes away pretty quickly, about like a week or two. But then energy wise and like uh, getting yeah, that affects your appetite. I never eat like the first maybe few weeks. No appetite, nausea from all the medications they gave me. So all of that together, energy and living a normal life like before surgery is 6 total months. So
Wow,
to feel like this
that
again was 6 months.
that's a lot longer than I thought it'd be.
Yeah, it's pretty long.
I mean, it's crazy to me, like the whole concept of heart surgery that you're just literally open for how many hours they do it.
Oh, it's a 11 to 12 hour surgery.
Holy shit, that's
Yeah,
extreme.
yeah, it's pretty long. It's long
Wow,
surgeries.
wow, I had no idea it was that long. I thought it would be maybe like 2 or 3.
No, I wish, but I mean, obviously, I can't tell because I'm knocked out the whole
Mm,
time, and I wake up,
Well,
I'm like, well, it's
good.
over.
But damn, I mean, it's amazing that we got this far in science that you can be open heart surgery for 12 hours and and they just close you up and then you're done.
Exactly. It's
It's,
amazing.
I wanted to know, like, do you ever have this moment like I had my fair share of extreme pains and such, and I'm sure you had yours too. But do you ever have that moment of extreme pain where, like, for some reason you like enter a weird level of calmness, and then it only happened to me once, but like, have you ever thought that you would never wake up again from how much pain you were in?
Yeah, I mean, especially in the hospital, you mean? I had like thoughts like that, and it was
Yeah,
like it was really
like you just
scary.
go to like you just don't think your body will handle it. That you just go to
Right.
sleep and
I I didn't sleep my like the first week almost of being in the hospital because that's what I was afraid of. I thought if I like closed my eyes and went to sleep, like I wouldn't wake up. But then I was like, well, even if I like stay awake, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. It doesn't really matter if you close your
yeah,
eyes or not.
I mean, you have the nurses that wake you up at like 2 a.m.
Yeah, exactly.
not caring what you are doing.
Nope, not at all.
They put the light on and take your blood
Yep. And
and
now
you
I get to
just
do it to other people.
oh no. I hope you treat them a little better. I mean I
I
guess
do.
the I mean I get it. Like they have to put the light on because they don't want to like poke you. I get it, but it's like
Yeah.
no one ever wants to wake up in the middle of the night, especially drawing
No, it's
blood.
very annoying. It's
Yeah,
horrible.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they're used to it, but like, it sucks.
Yeah.
It a miracle that you just survived a blood clot without any damage.
Yes. It's a miracle, definitely. After everything in that year, 2014, it was like everyone was like, even my doctors were like, not surprised, but like amazed at how well I recovered. And if like your doctor's gonna be amazed at that, it's like, okay, obviously, this is something out of the ordinary that I survived this.
Yeah, and especially with no damage at all. 'Cause I
Yeah.
think some of the symptoms are slurred speech. Um,
Yeah. I mean, that's more if you have a stroke, like an actual stroke, which luckily I didn't get to because they found a blood clot. But if they weren't to find it, it could have led to a stroke, which may or may not have led to a slurred speech. Some people like survive that too.
so while everybody thinks that the end to her hardship, but like Billy May said, there is more. So we're gonna fast forward to 2020. I'm gonna set the scene up. The pandemic just started. It felt like a long time that the pandemic, and I think it's actually ending in like a month or so now. Anyways, in 2020, the pandemic just started. Seemed like ages ago. You have shortness of breath. Your legs are swelling. You think it's COVID, which is super understandable. But then the doctor tells you to drop everything and go to the emergency room. You are diagnosed with double organ failure. First, what is a double organ failure and what is going through your mind?
So, first I thought for some reason I had COVID, you know?
I mean, it's understandable during the time.
Yeah. And then I was like, okay, and like I didn't know what it was, whatever. And then they did all like I was saying, the echocardiogram, and they like checked it, and they pretty much said that my now instead of a clot, there was a leak in one of my valves. So like a little hole, and the blood was basically flowing backwards. So it was not flowing where it was supposed to be, which was causing me to, swell up. I wasn't able to breathe. I was losing a bunch of weight, like all at once. Obviously, something was wrong. First, they said, okay, like it's just like a little leakage. You know what? No, actually, like it sounds bad, but they said no big deal. We can do a invasive surgery, non-invasive surgery, which basically they just laparoscopically, which is basically going like a camera, like down your mouth, down the neck, and going to the heart that way and patching it up with a little device and seeing it on the screen.
Okay.
And that would have been a fairly small surgery compared. It would have been maybe 2 or 3 hours because it was no big deal, supposedly. I was like, okay, great. Like, I'll be out of here maybe in a week or two.
Yeah.
I was trying to see like the bright side. And then they said, okay, but first let's give you a CT scan, which is basically they put you like it kind of looks like an MRI machine that you go through it and they have to see where the hole exactly is so they can go ahead and patch it. So I said, okay,
Do you have
cool.
to drink anything or no?
No, you don't have to drink anything. You have to fast though. I think it was like 12 hours
Mm-hmm.
before. And then through IV, they give you something called contrast iodine, which
Yep.
basically makes a light inside your heart so they can see where it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure I was allergic to that iodine
Oh no.
because my kidneys were fine before that. But as soon as I went through that machine with that medicine that gave me, the last thing I remember is like a kick, like my on my lower back where my kidneys are,
Uh
and I
huh.
remember knocking out.
Wait, so
And
you're saying that you went in with one organ failure, and then your
Yeah.
kidney just failed, and now you have two.
Yep. That's
Oh,
exactly what
okay.
happened. So I remember waking up maybe 24 hours after. I was knocked out for a whole day. And I woke up intubated. You know, I had
Hmm.
like these like tubes around me. Like, I was attached to so many stuff. And I'm like, what is going on? And then the nurse told me, you're on kidney failure. So now we have to put you on dialysis. And I was like hysterical. I was crying. I was like, what do you
Hmm.
mean you have to put me on dialysis? I'm in heart failure. Now you're saying my kidneys are failing and you're going to put me on dialysis. Like, is this for life? And she's like, we don't know. So that was reassuring. And they basically couldn't even operate on my heart now because of my kidneys were making me swell up. Because when your kidneys don't pump well, it makes you retain all the fluid. And that makes your body, like, you know, get
Hmm.
bigger. So that's what was happening to me. My legs were bigger, they were painful, my face was all swollen up. So they restricted my fluids. I couldn't drink anything. Put me on dialysis for about 3, 4 weeks. I was on dialysis. And
But isn't the dialysis supposed to replace your kidneys so like your body can resume normally, or it doesn't work as well as like your kidneys?
it's kind of working as your kidneys for you, but it's pumping instead of your kidneys taking out fluid, that's taking the fluid out for you. But I had to also restrict the fluids because, or else the machine would have not helped that much. So it had to be both together.
Mhm.
And
Yes. So you're just saying that it helps, but not as efficient as your kidneys. So
exactly, not as
you just gotta
efficient.
limit what you bring in.
Exactly, you have to limit what you bring in. I was on that attached to like a dialysis machine for almost a whole month. I was not able to have my surgery. It was so weird because I was retaining fluid before, but I was also losing weight at the same time. So I'm already like a fairly small person. On top of
Yeah.
that, I went to like 77 pounds.
Oh my God.
So that was very unhealthy. I was malnourished. I couldn't eat anything because I couldn't keep anything down. I kept like, getting nauseous from all the medications. And then on top of that, dialysis. I couldn't drink anything. So it was a whole mess.
So you go in and you're having the heart leaking. So and then you go for the CAT scan, and then that triggered you to basically black out for 24 hours. Now you're on dialysis with the kidneys, but like, what happened to your heart? Like, your heart is still leaking. So
My heart
like
is
what's
still leaking. They couldn't do anything. They were like just monitoring it every single day, doing EKGs, watching my heart, making sure it's not getting worse pretty much, making sure the leakage is not getting bigger. And it was pretty much like I had to have heart surgery to survive, but I also had to have my kidneys heal first because if I went into heart surgery with my kidneys in failure, I might have not survived heart surgery because it would have been too many stuff like, together not working.
I mean, you have so much against you already that I get what you're saying, but also at the same time you might die because your kidneys aren't working either. So it's like it's either
Exactly.
the kidneys are gonna kill you or your heart is gonna kill you. It's like what will
Yeah.
go first?
It's like, which
Oh my
one?
God.
It was crazy. And then I kept asking my doctors, and like, they had so many unanswered questions. And I was kind of like irritated at first, but like, I understand because it was a very complex situation that like no one really knew what was going to happen.
I mean, were you like obviously that you're in distress? Like, were you really able to comprehend what was happening?
Half the time, no, because half the time I was like, also from the pain meds kind of made me very drowsy all the time. So I was very like sad, but at the same time, I was also kind of positive in a weird way because I don't think I was able to like understand exactly like how bad my situation was until like I actually survived and got out.
So like when you go back to your story, and then you realize Like you put all the pieces together and then you realize
how
how
bad it was.
serious it was.
Exactly. But at that time, I was kind of like, there were days I was happy. There were days I was like, sad. It was very, I
Hmm.
wasn't really understanding what was happening.
Oh my god. So like it. So would you say this is all related to Shine condition, or it was just really bad luck
Shown?
that everything just?
No, it's shown. It's complex. It's a very rare left-sided heart failure. But I mean, everyone's is different. I've met other people who have Shones, and some of them had worse cases than like me, and some of them like they had just a few surgeries and not as bad. So it really depends. There's one part of Shones that most people have that I was lucky enough not to have, and that's the pulmonary valve not functioning well. And for mine, it's only the mitral and aortic. And if your pulmonary valve isn't functioning well, you pretty much can't breathe nonstop. It's like you have shortness of breath, and it's a much more severe case. But it's
So
so there's different types of Shones.
so you say like in the 2014 one say that you weren't taking your blood thinners and then that created a clot. So are you saying that this one was just a random occurrence that your blood just started to your heart decided to leak? Like is there a
Yes,
cause to it?
I think what my surgeon said at least is that the surgery from 2014, which wasn't done by him, it was done by a different surgeon.
Mm-hmm.
According to him, it was done improperly, the surgery in 2014.
Really?
And my valves were like placed not exactly like, stable.
Mm-hmm.
And he thinks that over time, like what is it, like 4 or 5 years, 2020, he said that's why it wore off so quickly because whoever did the surgery did not do it well.
Oh
And he
no.
noticed that because when he went in, he saw like, that there was this little space in between the valves that wasn't supposed to be there. They're supposed to be close to each other. And he
What?
thinks that could have been a big like reason that the leakage happened.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I know you
So,
go in like wanting to get healed, you get worse. Can you imagine?
well, yeah, like you don't there's so much preparation that you can do, but it's really all up to the doctor, and you can't really. It's in the doctor's hands of how they can help.
Yeah,
And that's
exactly.
yeah, that's unfortunate that had to happen to you. Like
I know.
holy shit.
But
So like, did was during the height of the pandemic, so you were allowed no visitors. Were you even equipped to make any of these decisions, or just they did
uh
everything to keep you alive?
I was in the beginning, it was still like, visitors were still allowed because everyone was still like not sure what exactly is going on with COVID. So I went in during the time, like perfect time actually, that was just right at the beginning that, we weren't wearing masks yet, but we were still confused about what's going on. And we still kind of had visitors. So my parents were able to, like my mom, my uncle, whatever, my friends were able to come in and kind of like figure out and help me what's going on. And like literally the day that I was finally taken off dialysis because my kidneys miraculously recovered and I didn't have to be on it permanently. And they said, okay, you're healthy enough to get heart surgery now. Literally that day, lockdown. So the day that I went in for my biggest surgery was the day that UCLA, my hospital here in Los Angeles, said no visitors, no one can come in, and I was pretty much by myself to go into that surgery for 12 to 13 hours and wake up confused about like where's everyone.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
How did you like? Well, now it's easy to understand it, but like, how did you? Were you even able to? I mean, like the pandemic never happened in our lives before or our parents' lives, so it's very hard to understand the concept of a lockdown. Like, were
Hmm.
you even able to comprehend that at all?
No, I was kind of like just going with it. I was like, okay, I guess they can't come in. And like, especially in the beginning when I was like knocked out initially and I wake up 24 hours later, everyone was talking about like this new virus and like, maybe having to wear masks and this and that. And I was like, what is going on? So it was all very like a blur during that time.
I know it was a very unfortunate time, but so you have kidney failing and your heart failing. So were you just kind of alive just due to machines?
To the dialysis machine, I was. My heart wasn't really attached to like a machine that was helping it pump or anything. It was just the EKG machine that was, helping the nurses and the doctors view my like EKG and how my heart is pumping, making sure I don't get worse. But they were pretty much just letting my heart be, and they're like, we're just gonna make sure it doesn't get worse until your kidneys recovered. And yeah, like I said, my dialysis, I was taken off after almost a month.
Like were they doing anything to try to make your kidneys better, or were they just like
Just the
put you on?
dialysis, just the dialysis and the fluid restriction, and
And did hope that your kidneys just start working again?
yeah, and they did. My kidneys fully recovered. I'm not on fluid restriction. I don't get dialysis, so
That's
it's a miracle.
crazy that it started working. Like what? Like why did it just stop working at like the worst time, and then all of a sudden it's just
I know. I think it's because that this CAT scan machine, that medication really messed it up. And also another thing, kidneys and heart have a lot to do with each other. So the fact that my heart was in failure, it was making my kidney situation worse. So when my kidneys, like, when they told me, okay, like you're good enough now, to come off it, and after they did my heart surgery, my heart pumping again and being like, healthy made my kidneys recover too. So it's like all connected together.
you say that you got your kidney back. The lockdown started. So how long is it for you to gain weight? Because I know you need weight to get open heart surgery. So how long is from getting your
Um,
kidney back to, I guess, surgery time?
I got my kidneys back about a month, and then they told me like they basically told me you have to like eat now, force yourself to eat, and they also gave me like food through like the IV to like make it
Hmm.
faster, and they said you have to be at least 90 pounds to get the surgery. So I was like 77 pounds. So that's about like 20 pounds. So I was just eating like, I was, get as much as I could and IV food, whatever. And then they weighed me. They said, okay, you're good now and you can like have your surgery.
That must be a little difficult just because if you don't eat for a long time, I don't remember what the term is, but I know if people are starving for a long time, they
Like
you can't
malnourished?
not really malnourished, but like you can't eat so much because then you get really sick. Or like if you're really really thirsty, you can't drink a lot of water at once. You gotta like do
Okay.
it.
Your
There's
stomach
a
gets smaller. That's why. I forgot what the term is too, but I know what you're talking about.
yeah.
It's
So like
hard to
like
eat.
yeah. So like it must be hard for you to eat, and then also you're in a distress situation, and in the
Yeah,
hospital, and the hospital is a total different dimension. So it must be
exactly.
hard to eat. Some
It was hard to eat and I wasn't really liking the hospital food. And luckily, like
yeah.
that time, it wasn't lockdown yet, so I was still um was allowed to have family and friends. And I asked the hospital, can they bring me stuff I like, so at least I can enjoy what I'm
Yeah.
eating and maybe eat more. And they said, in this situation, yes, like doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter like what you eat, just you know the point is to gain weight. So,
Yeah.
my parents made food, my mom made food, my friends brought me food from like, outside, whatever, just as long as I ate. And it was hard, but I was able to put on
Mhm.
that like 90 pounds.
I feel like I have a tube feeding, so I guess from experience. But I'm surprised they didn't put like a nasal tube, and they gave you formula because formula like you can put a lot of calories into formula really
Oh no, that's
fast.
that's what I meant. Sorry, when I said they gave me feeding, they did give me an NG tube.
Oh really?
Yeah, yeah, just for a short time though.
Oh yeah, because they give you a lot. They like per 8 ounces is 500 calories that I have, and that's
Yeah.
a lot of calories. And like you could gain so much weight really really fast.
Yeah. It was like for a few days, like just, to start it, and then after that they took it out and they like let me like eat myself, but just to like have a kickstart of
You must have
calories.
felt so amazing when you were able to eat again, and
Yes, I
like
did.
Yeah, like I remember when I lost like 20 pounds and I was like 80 pounds. I remember when I started eating, I just felt so much warmer
Yeah.
because like warmth is you need the calories to keep you warm, so I just felt so much warmer and so much fuller, and it felt amazing just to like gain weight again and
Mm-hmm.
like get back to yourself.
Yeah, and you feel
So
stronger. You feel better.
yeah, so you say family and friend support is extremely important to you through this experiences, and we know FaceTime is not the same as physically being there. Was it harder you going through all this shit without that physical support, or just whatever you were going through?
I think it was harder just because the lockdown, the official lockdown that they said no visitors, happened at like the worst day, which was my surgery day, the day they like okayed me to go in for my heart surgery. Cause usually like from times before when I wake up, the nurse sees me that I'm awake and says, okay, let me go like call your mom or like whoever, to come in. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have that this time. Like I had no one. And it was pretty much like I woke up and instead she was like, do you want to FaceTime anyone? So it was very different. I mean, it was still
Yeah.
nice to, I guess, FaceTime people, but it wasn't the same.
Oh, of course not. It's like
Yeah.
I remember when I came out of it was no lockdown at all or anything, but for some reason I asked if I could hold a nurse's hand for some strange reason.
I mean, yeah, it's support, right?
Yeah, I know, but like the weird thing is I never ever did that in my life
Uh-huh.
ever. So I did ask again to hold your hand. It was just such a weird. Like I don't know why it came to me and I wanted to do it, but it's just weird how it came to be like that.
It's funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, anything is supportive though.
I don't like have the same support system like you had with like my family, so I'm not like dying to see my family, So it's like fine. I don't know. I guess the vibe was great, so I wanted to hold her hand. To finish it up, you get discharged from the hospital, but you say you have a lot more recovery. What do you mean by that?
Well, the 6 months recovery. So pretty much it was 2 months, like literally almost 2 months after, after my heart surgery. I had to stay like a few more weeks for them to monitor me, and then they finally let me go home. But I still had a lot of weight to gain, first of all, so I was only 90 pounds, and I needed to gain at least like 20, 30 more pounds to be like where I'm normally at. So that was a big thing for me, you know? So that, and then just getting my energy back, and all the medications they gave me, like it stays in your system for like a while. It doesn't just like go away like after a day you're discharged. So, getting rid of those, just like drinking more water that I finally could drink fluids. So a lot of water, sleeping a lot. Like I would rest most days, sleep the whole day. So about like 5, 6 months, I would say I was back to normal.
Yeah, and I want
So
to
it was
highlight that before the 2020 fiasco, you were studying to be a nurse, and then like I think 6 months to a year later, you went back to your nursing program, and you
Yeah, I
completed it.
dropped out. I had to drop out in the middle of my nursing program. The whole thing happened. And then, like, 'cause my director at school knew, and she, like, said, just, call whenever you're ready. And I was lucky enough that they helped me. Like, I didn't have to repeat any classes that I took already. They pretty much put me wherever I left off. So,
Yeah,
that,
if you're listening to the podcast or you see that she's wearing her nurse's uniform, so it's safe to say that she graduated and now a nurse at her wherever nurses go.
yeah. I'm at a UCI in Irvine. It's a great hospital.
Yeah, so it is safe to say that you're I wouldn't say 100% healthy, but like you're 90% healthy. You can kind of do whatever you want, and
Mhm. I always say that, like, I'm healthy, I feel good, but just I have to take care of myself, like, more than others. I go to my doctor's appointments, make sure I take my medications, that kind of stuff. Doing all that is what keeps me going and
all
healthy.
right. So before I take the mic away from you, is there anything you want to say, promote, any words of wisdom, the winning lottery numbers? The mic is yours.
Just some, I guess, words of wisdom or inspiring words that I feel like stuff like this, no matter who goes through it, like devastating situations, I always like to see like a reason behind it, maybe making you stronger, making you like a better person. So I'm not mad at anything that happened. I think it made me like who I am today.
Great. All the links, if you want to follow her, will be in the description below. Thank you, Tamara, so much for your time, giving the
Thank you
great
so much.
story. Thanks everyone for listening and watching, and I'll see everyone next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.